just start. Okay. First session, we're going to be doing some review of Python. Now, I think everyone here is going to be at different levels. I was originally thinking we could do Google Form. That might take a while, depending on how long different people answer. So what's going to happen is I'm going to be going through the Python review pretty quickly. Actually, I guess with like a quick... Can everyone put in the chats whether they've done... I guess let's say if you've only been to these Schulich Ignite beginner sessions as your like other as your only experience with programming, put yes. Otherwise, put no, because I just want to get an idea of like where we're at. And then yeah, so start with that. And then if I go too quickly, you'll have an exercise where you can go back through the slides, talk to your mentor, ask questions, etc. Don't worry too much about it. Hello. No one. Okay, no one's gonna put anything in the chat. Well, that's fine. I'm just gonna go. Okay. So we're not gonna look at variables. Hopefully, you all know what that is. So, okay, if statements, right? One of the things the computer can do is it can check if something is true, do something, otherwise do something else. Something to remember is that for if statements, you, what is it? I think there's an example here, right? Yes. If one of these conditions is true, then it executes and everything below it. So let's say grade is above 95, right? If that's true, then it executes. The rest of it's ignored. That's when you use... Sorry? Okay.
Hi, Sebastian.
Yeah, you're gonna have to type that in chat because I did not hear what you said. What else? But yeah, so for assignment operators, use one equal sign. So you're like set fruit equals banana, but if you want to check if two values are equal, use double equal sign. Boom. Okay, first question. You want to join this through TopHat. So I think you just go I'm sure there are instructions. There are instructions somewhere, right? I'm assuming you log in or you should have had an account. If you didn't have an account, can you quickly check to see if there's stuff?
Anyways. Make sure you put your school as University of Calgary.
I'm just showing this for example purposes. Yeah, when someone, when you've signed in, can you just put something in the chat? Say like, done. Code is 47445. Okay. It's 474451. Anyways, I'm just going to share the screen again.
Oh my, oh my. Man. Oh my. Oh my swerve, Nakuru.
Hey, John, can you please make sure you're muted if you're not trying to talk to everyone else? Okay. Is there anyone not done?
Oh, okay, I hear you. I can see it.
Perfect.
For those who have logged in,
I didn't.
you should be able to answer
What?
now.
Got it.
Who's not done?
Me? I'm not done yet.
Okay. Anyone else?
No, just me, I think.
Vienna, were you able to get to work?
I'll
Okay.
be quick. I'm almost there.
I guess you guys get infinite time to solve this question. uh,
Wait, I can't see. Oh, I can see.
top hat code is 474451. Yeah.
What was that? Can you repeat?
It's in the chat. It's 474451.
Oh, I see it. Oh, someone's calling me.
Okay, I think we should just start. All right, Jahan, do you want to start the question? I think we've kept everyone waiting long enough. If you're not done, I think we'll have to get it. Like if there's you should be able to log in normally, but if there was some other issue, then we can get it sorted out in the breakout room. Okay, cool. Fine. It looks like we are. You might need a bit of review, but essentially how this works is, I guess, well, first we want to calculate the results, which is, what is it? 4 times 5 divided by 2. So 4 times 5, 20 divided by 2 is 10, plus 4 is 14. So if we first we arrive at that conclusion, right? So the thing is that these if statements, so the first one, what happens is we check the first one. So 14 is not less than 25. So it doesn't execute. Wait a second. Let me check if this answer even should be correct. And then you have your result. If the result is less than 20, then it would print less than 20, which should print because it's an if statement. And then if you have result larger than 0, which is also true, then it should print. And then since this third if statement is true, then the else statement doesn't execute. So you have less than 20 and greater than 0.
Wait, I have a question.
Sure.
It says log into your account, but I'm trying to log in, but it's not working.
We're gonna have to figure out that later because, but we'll maybe in like 15 minutes we'll jump into like rooms and you can get that sorted out.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay, Nagesh.
does anyone have any questions about the top hat is over, but we'll have another opportunity in like a few minutes. But does anyone have any questions about that? So basically the reason it's not just less than 20 is because these if statements aren't connected by, I wonder if I can highlight. Let me get out presenter mode. Actually, can you all see my, okay. So this if statement here is like these 3 if statements, oh gosh, they're separate, right? So this one can execute. This one also gets checked.
Ryan,
on the
you can share your screen.
Yeah, I can't see it.
It's so sad.
I can't see it.
Yeah, so basically,
Oh, I can see you now. I can see it.
if your second line executes, you still check the third line because they are not. This second if statement is not linked to the third statement with an else if. Now, on the other hand, if you had an else if statement, then it would say like if this result is true, skip these last 2 lines, right? But since it is an if statement, you actually print both of them.
Wait, can you please help me? I can't sign in. It's showing me something red. I can't sign in. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll figure that out later because I want to get through like the next few slides as well. So we have like we'll figure that out in like 15 minutes. So just hang tight. And same with you, Alex. Yeah. So you will have to just like for the next 2 questions, just like practice answering them yourself. It's not like a big deal if you miss out on the 10 points. You'll have like a lot of opportunities to make it up. So, okay. Yeah. So lists, hopefully y'all remember, they store a list of values. And your 0th index is, that gets you the first index. So if you use 0, you get the first number in the list. That's just something to remember. What else? There's a bunch of functions you can use on a list. You can go back to this later, but what else? Oh yes, then you have your two ways you can interact with lists. You can use the for loop, which literally goes through every item in the list, and then you can do something with the item if you want, or you can choose not to do something with it. And also, I'm not going in depth explaining these because the assumption is that you remember most of it and it's just a review. While loop is very similar to a for loop, except it doesn't stop until you meet the statement to stop, which, so in this case, if I becomes larger than 5, then you stop. Or you can use like break. Anyways. So now you have your next question, which is using for loops on a list. How many times does waiting get printed?
Is it okay if I go to washroom? I gotta go quick. Is it gonna stay? Yeah. Is the question gonna stay?
Well, I don't think your top head is working, so it probably won't affect you. Oh, he left. Oops.
I'll be back.
What else? Wait, Ivan, what do you mean by 3? I think you're supposed to answer via top hat. Wait, I don't know. Actually, what was the 3 for? Oh, I think, Jahan, you might have to start it.
Yeah. You should be able to answer now.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Can you see it now? Oof. Hmm? The question should be, oh, I see. Wait, Jahan, is there a way you can display the question at the same time as like the wait. No, because okay, wait a second. Everyone can see this like these options from their top hat, right? Is that correct? Someone please confirm in the chats. Because if you guys can see the option, okay, Alex, we'll help you out in like. There's only a few more slides, and then we do breakout rooms where your mentor can help you out. But I don't want to like do any debugging stuff while we're all here. Okay, so yeah, if you guys can see, no, okay, next time, Johan, I'll keep the my screen share on, and then you guys can just look at the options from top hat. And then in terms of like, everyone got that correct. Should be pretty simple. All right, next. Oh yeah, I have to screen share again. Yay. Finally, functions. Okay, what does functions do? Hopefully you guys have used these already, but reuse code, yeah. So you have, this slide, you can come back to it for reference, right? But you have, what do you want to call the function? What input do you want to give it? And what output do you want it to have? So for example, you can give it 2 numbers, and in the function, you can tell them to add those 2 numbers, and you can return the sum, or you can do whatever you want with the 2 numbers. Okay, cool. And here's an example of how you call it. You just say, oh, assign a variable to the function and pass them the 2 like this should be reviewed. And now we have our third question. I got like Alex, I guess for you, just and John as well, if he's still there. You guys just kind of like mentally answer it. So do the question. And it is unfortunate you won't be able to get points for it, but it's like I said, it's inconsequential. Okay, 10 points is not that much. Okay. So I'll keep my screen share on, and then Jahan, you can start the top hats. Wait, Jahan, can you share like after the results are in?
Yeah, everyone has answered. I will share now.
Awesome. Okay.
Sec.
I think it's also the fact that it's multiple choice makes it easier. Okay, good job, most people. So for the people that said a parameter can't be 0, it can actually be anything. So A, B, and C, there's technically you can even pass in 3 strings if you wanted. So you could, where do I, let me exit this. So you could technically call it with, I don't know, A, B. You could do this. Now, like we said, the return, but you actually have to return the function first. You have to return. There's no coloring, but return is like a keyword, right? So this is a special keyword that's like, hey, here's what the function will give you if I assign a variable to it. So you actually have to put this line in. But let's say we did have this line. You could technically pass 3 strings and you would still get something. You would actually get, this would be ABC. You would get the string ABC. And then this would get you ABC, ABC. So yeah, it would still work. Anyways. What else? Times equal is literally just shorthand for equals return. It's same as like plus equals, minus equals. It's the same thing. So okay. Finally, tuples.
To show your screen.
Oh. No. Oh my gosh, I'm so sad. Oh, it's probably because every time I escape, it like cancels it or something.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was just saying you could pass in 3 strings, and because you can do string operations with addition and multiplication, you would actually be able to get something like valid. Yeah. Okay. I better change the slides back to what they were. Okay. So this is mainly for like people who weren't in Schulich, or not weren't, who were only in Ignite, then you would not have learned about this, but tuples are literally lists that can't be changed. When should you use a tuple? When you don't want the items in a list to be changed. And you'll see them in Pygame, which is like you can think of it kind of like a game engine. I mean, it's a lot less than a game engine, but Pygame, you can think of like a game engine that you can use Python to write game code, and it's roughly what it is. So you will see tuples used in Pygame, but like in terms of like you actually defining them, I would say it's like if you're like this stuff should never be changed, then use the tuple, because then if some random programmer decides to like try and use like code to change your tuple, it'll throw an error and they'd be like, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to change this. I usually don't use them often, but there's like narrow use cases. Yeah. And here's like our first exercise. So Alex and John. John's gone. Okay. So Alex, mainly you. You can. Who's your mentor? Okay, your mentor, and you can work out the top hat thing. Everyone else, we have. Oh, let me share the slides. Here's an exercise. It's a kind of like list/tuple exercise, and it's really just like, do you know your indexing? You want to find the smallest x coordinate in this list. Now, for those of you who are like pretty well versed in Python and maybe find this super easy, I would say create an algorithm to sort the list. That's like the secondary. That's like the bonus if you get the first part done quickly. So there you have like extra stuff. And if you get that done as well, you're like, ha, I'm a pro programmer. What am I doing here? Ask your mentor for something, and you either just chat with them or they can give you something even more challenging. Okay. We'll do a breakout room for like 15 minutes, and then if you still can't figure it out in 15 minutes, you can get back to it later. And also, like, your mentors are here for a reason, so maybe if you're stuck on something for like 10 minutes, you should probably ask your mentor. Obviously, you have Google. You also have AI tools, but I would say the short version with using AI is you want to make sure you understand what it's actually saying. If you don't understand what it's saying, you learn nothing. So it can solve the problem like easily. This is a very simple problem. If you ask ChatGPT, oh, solve this question, it'll solve it for you. But do you actually know what you're doing? It's like, okay, you might think you do. So I would say the best thing to do is like, if you ask, say, ChatGPT to explain a question like this, you should ask it, generate me another question that's similar that I can actually practice applying like the same skill on my own. That way you actually know that you understand it and you don't just think you understand. Okay, that's my take on AI. But anyways, go. Or is the breakout rooms? Yes. You all hopefully know your mentor.
Let me know if you don't
Sorry?
know your mentor.
Yeah. So if you're still feeling rusty about your Python, it's not a big deal. You get to practice it. Okay. So what you want to do is, first of all, hopefully your Pygame works, because I know some people are having import errors. By the way, if you've installed Pygame and it's like, oh, Pygame is not recognized, one thing you can do is you can basically select your interpreter in VS Code. So you can Google how to do it. But basically, you want to select which version of Python you're using and make sure that the version of Python you're using is the one with Pygame installed, because you might have like, 3.8 and 3.11. And maybe you installed Pygame on 3.11, but right now you're using Python 3.8. So you just want to check that if you have issues. If you don't have issues importing Pygame, then you should be good. Okay. So what we want to do now is, yeah, I'll screen share my whole window. Bloop, 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 bloop. Whoops, my entire screen? Yeah, sure. Look closely, I guess. You want to get this code, and you want to put it into a VS Code file. So the way I do it is copy it. I go code. If you know what you're doing, you don't have to follow along. Basically, you want to copy and paste all this code into a new VS Code file. And it's just a template for Pygame. So it'll get you like a window, just a blank window. That's what it does. And I'll explain each section in a moment. So when you go, Python file, you create a new Python file. Oh, okay, cool. Paste it, save it as Control S. You know, it's not saving, whatever. Don't name your files like me. You should probably name it like Pygame template or something. That's probably I will be a better example. Let me rename this to something you should actually name it. Oh, my computer's lagging. No. Okay. And usually you will not have a bunch of random folders. I think I just happened to open another folder. I had another folder open in VS Code, but you will not have all this junk here. You will only have this one file. Should not have all these other random folders. Anyways, cool. So if you run this code right now, what you'll get is you get a empty window. Boop. To run code, you just go click this, run and debug, and then you click this, and you select the first option. But basically, what you have is you have your event section, which is like keyboard input. It's just user input. So you have keyboard, mouse movements, and mouse clicks. That's like what the events are. And that starts at line 25. There's actually doc strings for everything. So you can kind of tell pretty easily. So that's what your events do. Then you have your updates. Okay, here's what it does. You get a blank window with nothing. Okay, then you have your update section, which is where I would put all the game logic, right? So you'd be like, if player collides with bullet, make player lose health. Yes. Anyways, so yeah, you would have your game logic in the update section, and then finally in your draw section, you will actually draw things on the screen. So I would say be careful to not be careful, but make a point of keeping your update and your draw separate. You don't want to be drawing things in your update section, and you don't want to be doing game logic in your draw section. Like draw section, you should run after you figured out like where everything's going to be. So in your update section, over here, you want to do all the physics. Like, oh, if the player has collided with a wall, let me set their velocity to 0 and set their position to here. And then finally in the draw section, you literally just draw everything. So where most of your code will be is going to be in the update section. Finally, you always want to put your draw code after this line that says fill screen, because if you don't, then all your animations are going to be covered by the screen. If you're like draw whatever, you're like, well, why am I using Java? Okay, Python comments. So you're like, I draw a Mario dude. Draw a Mario dude here. Then this is gonna run, but then I'll just fill the screen with black, so you will see nothing. Okay, this is why we make sure we put all our drawing code after the screen fill. And then what does this do? This code here, it's like update the animation. This thing here keeps your computer, it basically regulates the frame rate. So basically that means if your computer is running really fast, you could technically run the game like super fast. But then if it's a slow computer, it might like run the game really slow, right? And by having this clock.tick frame rate, it kind of regularizes it. So it's like, I would say the simplest way to think of it is kind of forcing all the faster computers to run like at like setting like a limit on the amount of speed that it can run at. Like the slow computer can only run as fast as, like the slow computer is going to be slow, right? But the faster computers, you can kind of slow them down so that everyone plays the game at the same like frame rates. That's a simple version to think of it. If you really want to look into frame rate, you can probably Google it yourself, but it's kind of roughly what it does. And then, like I said, here your event section is kind of set up for you already, but there's the main events are mouse movements, mouse clicks, and then keyboard events. And there's a couple ways to get input. We'll talk about those later. So like this one here, I am going a little out of order. But anyways, so yeah, a little more in depth into the event section is, I should say, what is it? So how I talked about, like, remember how I talked about events being, you have mouse movements, you have keyboard input, and you have mouse input, as in like button presses, right? So all of those are actually recorded in this little like pygame.event.get gets you all of those. So if you like click the mouse and you press the spacebar, those would all be returned. And this is actually a list, right? This is the list. And so you could iterate through all of those. This one specifically checks if you press on the X button. So it's not really a keyboard event or a mouse event. It's like pretty special, but this thing here is like if you press on the X button on the window, it lets you quit. That's what it does. Kind of skip the setup. Oops. So yes. What else? So the way to think of Pygame is also, if you guys have any questions, just like people do have questions. Yes, no? Oh wait, never mind. It's debugging. Sorry. Also, if you have questions, just like throw them in the chat. Mentors, you can answer them as well. Maybe like you do private chats if it's like very specific. If it's like a question that can benefit everyone, then you answer publicly. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so anyways, the short version of what Pygame is, it's Python library. So basically what it really is, it's a collection of functions. That's the easiest way to think of it. So you could technically do everything that Pygame does from scratch, but it would be very difficult. So Pygame is like, guess what? You can use this, like, it's not quite. We'll cover like specifics like classes and objects later, but the simplest way to think of this is like, so you'll see this like dot thing, and I'm sure those of you who have used Python like outside of Schulich you probably have an idea how this works. But first of all, you have Pygame, which is like your library. So think of the library as like a big file with like a bunch of functions and stuff. And then you're saying, okay, inside this Pygame library, I want to access the set of functions that are related to display, so the window. And within this set of functions, I want to specifically set the screen size and screen height. That's what set mode does. So this is actually a function, right? And when you call this function, boom, you get a screen, which is like, it has nothing. It's just a screen, but it has a certain height and it has a certain width. So it's built in. And then you have this little line here, which makes it makes transparent parts transparent. It's really not that relevant, but if you upload an image that has like your character and you want the background to be transparent, then it makes sure that works. That's basically it. Oh yes, last but not least. It's not really last but not least. Bro. What was that? Simon, please do not do that. Anyways. Okay. Also, you can go back and you can look through these slides, but as like a little reference, right? Yes. Oh, I forgot. There's a. Okay, so it's kind of relevant. Everything above the while loop only runs once. Everything within the loop runs over and over, as evidenced as it's a while loop. So you call this like the game loop. Okay, so finally what we're going to do is we're going to create like a little rectangle. We're going to create a little rectangle. And honestly, what I'm going to do is, I think we should go into the breakout rooms now, but I shared the slides before. And your goal is to create a rectangle that bounces around. And so your next 3 slides will kind of tell you how to do that. But you basically have Pygame has a built-in object called a rectangle. And it stores okay. Yeah, okay, I'll explain this in the main section. But this rectangle here, it stores information, right? So that's what an object does. If you haven't heard of what an object is, but you can say like, within the Pygame library, I want to access the rectangle object. And this rectangle object will have like things like properties. It'll have like, oh, what's the X position? What's the Y position? What's the width? What's the height? And you use this little dot operator, as you've seen multiple times, to access like the attributes of the rectangle. So that's how it works. And then you also have once again, another built-in function, which is saying like, in the Pygame library, I want to check like the set of functions related to drawing. And I want to call the one that draws a rectangle. And then within that, you want to pass in, you want to give it the screen. So what do you want to draw it on? What color do you want to draw it? And what are the like dimensions of the rectangle that you want it to draw? And so the easiest way to figure this out is to go implement it. And the last part is you can, like we showed earlier, that this rectangle is an object, right? So you can modify its attributes. You can be like, oh, I want to change the X value. I want to set the X value to the Y value to 300. I want to multiply the width by 3. And you can either, if you put these in the draw function, then if you're like constantly modifying like the X value, oh, you got movements. Okay. And so your exercise is going to be to make the rectangle bounce off the edges of the screen, and you want to submit this. Where is the updated submission form? Okay. I'm pretty sure we have. Okay, I'll give you guys the links later. But anyways, yeah. So you want to make the exercise. You want to make the rectangle bounce off the edges, and if you get that done early, ask your mentor for something else to do. And yeah, it might for some of you it might be easy. So I would definitely recommend asking your mentor for like next steps. Just like a random idea, maybe you want to mess with the input. Make it so that the user input allows you to move the rectangle, right? And also like keep the rectangle within the boundaries. That's like one thing you can do, right? Yeah, that's gonna be my little like extra bonus. So you have your main thing. You just want to draw a rectangle that moves around. Your bonus number 1, make the rectangle bounce off the sides of the screen, and bonus number 2, which is not officially on here, but make it so you can control the rectangle with player movement. So we talked about the events section. Good luck. Off to the breakout rooms. Good. Yeah. So before everyone leaves, two things. One, can you all please fill out this end of session feedback form real quick? Takes maybe like 5 minutes, and that way we can make the next session better. And also, if you scroll to the bottom of the slides now, the place to submit the exercises is here. So technically they're due next week. So let's say before next session, but it should really only take maybe like 30 minutes to an hour. I mean, if you know Python, you could probably do it in like 5 minutes, but the assumption is that, this is something you just learned. So maybe anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour is probably the estimate I would put for the exercise. It really depends on your level of experience, maybe even less, but pretty large range. So yeah, here's the form.
What session is this? Like session 1?
The exercise, so the form is for all the end of session exercises, but basically the thing at the end where we're like, oh, let's draw a rectangle, that's when you'll want to be submitting.
Oh, I meant for the end of session feedback.
Oh, end of session feedback is, yes, this is session, this is session 1. You know what, I'm gonna remove section 0 because clearly it would just confuse people. So yeah, this is session 1. Okay, cool. And then once you're done, well, actually, no, you can leave the meeting while you're filling it out. It doesn't really matter.